welcome to Epcot Magazine, our daily adventure into the world of great ideas. Today, we're in the Contemporary Hotel here at Walt Disney World. I'm Michael Young, and my co-host is Dana Hill, who we know from Cross Creek, Shoot the Moon, and the two of us on television.
Yes.
Television and film, very different medium, aren't they?
They're very different, but I enjoy doing both of them.
Well, I hope you're enjoying Walt Disney World.
I'm loving it, especially the monorail. Do you realize the monorail goes all over this whole park?
Well, you're going to get a chance to find out how the monorail is made and put together, and a lot more. Let me tell you what else we have today.
Robots, the stuff of science fiction, from the scary monster types to the cute film versions. Today's real robot technology is in full swing, and we'll take you on a historical journey and show you some of our helpmates of the future. Then personal success. It's an elusive goal for many of us, but perhaps a visit to the Personal Achievement Institute can get you thinking positively and put you on the road to greatness. And Frank Barry makes a clean getaway with his timely tips that take the troubles out of travel. And Mary Ellen Pinkham has her sights set on the most dangerous things you can put in your mouth. Her own fat food hit list. Plus, join Dana Hill and me when we take a high-speed look at just what it takes to create and build the fabulous monorail here at Walt Disney World. All on today's Epcot Magazine.
This is Misinformed and her robot, I before E, who perform every day here in Future World.
That's right, Michael, and this robot can be operated by anybody, no matter how low their degree of intelligence. So why don't you just turn it on?
Okay. Oh, would you look at that? Oh, hello. You know, robots are very much part of our life today, and we've had quite a history and quite a future we'll have with them. Tom Miller is at the American Craft Museum in New York to tell us about robots. How do I turn this off?
I'm not saying.
The world is moving into a new age, the age of robots. Before the 20th century, robots existed only in the realm of dreams and fantasy. But due to the technological revolution, the robot is now a part of real life. Robots are used in outer space, in the workplace, in the home, and are even available as toys and artwork. They perform a variety of tasks, from guarding a home to telling the time. Robots will soon become an important part of everyone's future, and all of this has been accomplished in less than 25 years. If you'd like to find out how robots have jumped out of the pages of science fiction novels and into our lives, then this is the place to be, the American Craft Museum in New York City. It is the first major museum to have a showing devoted exclusively to our mechanical friends. It's called the Robot Exhibit, History, Fantasy, and Reality. From here, the exhibit will tour throughout the country, visiting 11 other museums, and it will be on display through 1986. Although the first working robot went into action in 1961, mankind has been toying with the design for a robot since the days of the Greek and Roman empires. But it wasn't until the 1700s and 1800s that automatons were made. These were self-acting or moving devices that used springs, wheels, cogs, and other clockworks to achieve movement. During the early 1900s, electricity was used to automate machines. And in 1921, automatons became known universally as robots, after a Czechoslovakian playwright coined the word. Since then, robots have become a major theme of fantasy in science fiction and art. This fantasy has recently become reality, and in the near future, we'll see families of robots at work in every conceivable setting around the world. The man responsible for giving us this glimpse of our future is guest curator Robert Malone, who suggested the idea of an exhibit on robots over a year and a half ago.
We want them to get familiar with the concept that robots are going to be entering their homes and in their work environment, and that, you know, we want to kind of create a user-friendly attitude towards robotics. It's a magical technology that'll be very useful to people. By magical, I mean that these things are not like any other objects we've ever dealt with. They talk to you in some cases, they walk towards you, they respond to you. This is what we've expected from objects maybe for thousands of years, but now suddenly they're there and they're doing it.
It was during the 1960s that industrial robots entered the workplace, and today they are at work throughout the world in ever-increasing numbers. Right now, industrial robots can weld, burnish, handle large loads of odd parts and products, rivet, drive screws, assemble simple parts, spray paint, glue, and do wiring of electronic parts. Robots are even used in space exploration, And it was in 1962 that the first robot was sent into outer space. Since then, robots have landed on the moon and were used on the Mars, Viking, and Voyager probes. But it wasn't until 1981 that the first commercial personal robots were made available for home use to the public.
Robots are probably going to be very beneficial in our lives. For instance, in bionics or prosthetics, the handicapped, the disadvantaged have an opportunity to use this technology in ways that will allow them to pour a cup of coffee or to read a book, to make them almost like human beings. We can't do yet. Maybe 50 years, they'll almost act like human beings. They'll be kind of like, you know, Westworld, you know, Yul Brynner, you know, you can't tell the robot from the people. But right now, we're far away from that technology. It'll be hard enough for us just to get an object that responds to you and is able to talk on a rather primitive level. That in itself is more than a dog can do, right?
The robots brought together for this exhibit come from all over the world, although the majority are from the United States and Japan, the leaders in this field of technology. In fact, Japan has more robots doing more things right now than any other country. Jerome Hamlin is the president of Comro, an American company that designs and builds personal robots. He himself has been inventing robots since 1977. One of the robots they manufacture is Tot, their most sophisticated robot to date. Tot is one of 6 robots Comro is exhibiting at the museum.
One of the interesting things he can do at home is to push a sweeper, performing useful household cleaning work. Another thing Tot can do is to carry a tray and deliver drinks to your friends. If someone gets in his way when he's delivering a drink or whatever, his obstacle avoidance program will take over and he'll stop. Tot has an internal clock that you can set, and then whenever you walk by him and his sensor picks you up, he'll announce the time. Perhaps the most interesting program in terms of practical use at home is the security program. In this program, he watches an area 20 feet in front of himself for any motion. If someone or something moves into that area, the guard program is set off, and he threatens the intruder and announces that he has called the police.
Tot can do all kinds of things. He walks, he talks, he lifts things up, he carries trays, he even greets people, and he'll shake your hand. Nice to see you, Tot. He'd be a welcome addition in anyone's home. There are a number of talking robots at this exhibit. This one is called Topo by Androbot, and he actually responds to people. He responds to these kids, and they just love him.
They're the ultimate gadgets. We're trying to reproduce a human-like machine, and that's the ultimate mechanical triumph.
It looks like robots are here to stay. They've moved from the world of fantasy into reality. And if adults have a hard time accepting a mechanical cook in the kitchen or a robot cutting the grass, this next generation will think having a robot helper is as natural as having a TV in the living room. So fasten your seatbelts and welcome to the age of robots.
You know, pretty soon robots will be doing lots of things around the house. Lots of chores and everything, right?
That's right, but they won't do windows.
Oh, well, you know, the Wright brothers, they were laughed at when they came up with the plane. I mean, what use was that? Robots will be doing a lot. Coming up next, Frank Barry has a great idea for us about travel.
That's right. Well, that was plenty, so let's just wheel the robot out. Here we go. That's good, Mikey. Good.
When it comes to making a getaway, no one knows how to do it like Frank Barry. Today, Frank will share his best travel tips and show you how to avoid problems on your next trip.
Well, I think that looks sensational. Does it look like I'm about to take another trip? Well, I'm not. I've just come back from one. How many of you folks have collected all these little badges and stickers from different hotels and wondered what you're going to do with them? Well, I finally came up with the idea that I want to use with mine. I found this old steamer trunk made in the 1920s, and I'm putting all the labels that I've got all over it. It's much too heavy to use today. It weighs a ton. You'll break your back carrying this from airport to airport. But then once I've got all the stickers on, we're going to lacquer it. I'm going to put it on a little stand, and I think it'll make a great coffee table, and it's going to bring back memories of all those lovely trips. But I've told you many times how often I am traveling in the year. And naturally, I've picked up a lot of tips, and I want to pass on some of the best ones to you. First of all, if you've never been out of the country, I can't recommend highly enough contacting the U.S. Customs Service, because they'll send you this little book, Know Before You Go, and this tells you everything that you have to know about your allowances, what you can bring in, what you can't bring in, and it's full of interesting information and tips. And a good thing to remember, if you're going out of the country and you've got a foreign-made camera or a piece of jewelry or something like that that's expensive, it's your responsibility before you go to register it with the U.S. Customs, so that you'll get a form saying that you have already bought it in this country or you've paid duty on it. So it's up to you to do, but all that is covered in this book. It's sensational. Another thing, which probably isn't quite as important, when you travel, don't take big bottles of hair lotion and all sorts of shaving creams. Try and get the little sample size. Keep them for your trip and put them in a plastic bag, because there's an unwritten law. Anything that will leak if you're on vacation. So keep it in a bag like that, and if you need it, you can always buy it when you get there. Another thing is travel as light as possible. I've been traveling 20 years, and I still take too much with me. You can always pick it up at the other end. I try to take now only what I can carry on. I've got a bag here, this small one, and this is a great tip. Take along a bag that folds up. This one here will fit almost anywhere, and you can open up because you're going to buy all sorts of souvenirs and things on your trip. And this will fit on top of this rack, because this is one of the best tips that I've ever had. And they've been around for 10 or 20 years. All it is a set of wheels, but invest in a good one, not a cheap one. So the best way to keep wheeling is to get a set of wheels.
Dana Hill and I are here in Future World, and we're taking a look at that wonderful monorail.
It's fantastic. It looks so futuristic.
It is kind of nice, isn't it? Do you know that the monorail system here at Walt Disney World is the largest privately funded monorail system in the world?
No, I didn't know that. I did know, though, that all the people that travel through Disney World and Epcot Center use the monorail system to go between each of them.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's not just a ride. You know, it's a principal means of transportation around here.
How many people a day approximately do you think, Michael, ride on it?
Around 179,000.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, the monorail is quite a story.
Over 300 million passengers have traveled on the Mark IV monorail at Walt Disney World since the system began operation back in 1971.
It's one of the most efficient transportation systems in the world, and so far the 10 trains have logged over 5 million miles.
The story of the Mark IV began back in 1959 with the dedication of the Mark I monorail in Disneyland. It was the world's first daily monorail service.
20 years and 2 more generations of monorails later, construction started on the new Mark IV system in Walt Disney World.
The trains run on these huge concrete beams, Dana. Though a single beam weighs up to 50 tons, a monorail track still uses only about 1/4 of the concrete you would need to build a conventional elevated railway.
The trains were built right here at Walt Disney World, and a 5-car train weighs about 40 tons.
10 of these huge tires support the train as it glides up to 60 feet above the ground.
Wow, this is great.
Fun?
I feel like I'm floating on air.
You know, it actually does float on air. Above each one of the wheels, there's 2 huge airbags and a compressed air system that keeps it, you know, inflated and keeps the whole system level.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really neat.
How fast do you think we're going?
Well, I think we're going about 35 miles an hour right now. Roughly, that's the cruising speed.
That's great. You know, I feel like we're cruising, like we're in a Cadillac car or something. I mean, it's so smooth and wonderful.
Well, it's also very quiet because it has 8 electric motors, 100 horsepower motors, spaced throughout the monorail to keep it going. Right down there, see that little building?
Oh, yeah.
That's a power station that powers the monorail.
Although computers keep track of all the important functions of the train, a human operator controls its speed.
The operator is in constant radio contact with the central control office.
And this electronic console keeps track of speed, brake pressure, and air pressure, and automatically monitors 33 functions of the train.
The trains run an average of more than 17 hours per day, every day. That doesn't leave much time for maintenance, Michael.
No, Dana, but the Mark IV system is still 99.9% reliable. This huge maintenance facility can handle up to 10 trains at one time.
The Mark IV system is the most successful monorail ever built.
It's the transportation system of tomorrow and at Walt Disney World today.
Great system, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
Yeah?
You know, the Walt Disney monorail system is really a great system. It could be used for mass public transit even.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's 10 times more energy efficient than automobiles.
That's fantastic. It doesn't create smog, pollution. You get to ride above all that traffic. It would be wonderful.
Sure, plus they don't have to tear down buildings. It doesn't use much ground space. And therefore, in a city, you could just sort of build the rail over existing property.
You know, I really realize how energy efficient and what a great system this really is.
It's really a great idea. And Mary Ellen Pinkham has got some great ideas about fad foods coming up.
Today, Mary Ellen Pinkham, our diet expert, is on the warpath against the most dangerous things you can put in your mouth. Fat foods. Big aim on her hit list.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Ellen Pinkham. I hope you remember me. I'm the gal who wrote all the helpful hint books. Well, maybe you might not remember me because guess what? I've lost 70 fat pounds. And boy, do I feel like a different person. Being a writer, I thought I'd share my experience with you in a new book entitled Mary Ellen's Help Yourself Diet Plan, the one that worked for me. And I found out something very interesting. The only way you're going to get the fat off and keep the fat off is to know what you're doing when you're in a supermarket. Now, I explain a lot of different things in my books, and one chapter is devoted to the 10 most dangerous things to put in your mouth. Well, in my opinion, the most dangerous thing to put in your mouth is, guess what? Butter. Butter. You know why? You can put butter on just about everything. You know, I ordered some oatmeal this morning at the hotel. In comes the oatmeal with a waiter with 3 pads of butter floating on top of it. Now, goofing up oatmeal is almost as bad as goofing up a 2-car parade. So what I'm trying to tell you, you don't need all the extra butter. Eliminate the butter from your diet, other than maybe, let's say, a pat. You could probably lose 1 to 2 pounds a year without doing anything else. Just remember this. 1 tablespoon of butter, 100 calories. Now, who needs that? You can have a roll for 100 calories. And if you think you're if you think you're doing yourself a favor by buying margarine, forget that too. Same amount of calories. But if your doctor has got you on a low cholesterol diet, well, he'll probably tell you to stick to the margarine, but that's up to him. Now, unless you've been in outer space for the last 5 years, you've already heard that salt is pretty dangerous. You know, when you go out shopping for a dress, you look at the labels, don't you? Well, don't you think it's about time you started reading the labels of the things you're going to put in your mouth? Do you know that beer's got salt in it? Chocolate pudding's got salt in it? I mean, so many foods that you never believed have salt in it. So start reading those labels. Now, there's one thing I've got to share with you. About 6 months ago, I found out how many calories there are in a tablespoon of Roquefort dressing. Would you believe 125? So if you want to stay thin, you got to give up the salad dressings. You know, Paul Newman's a good guy, but his salad dressing's pretty fattening too. And while we're at it, I got to tell you, the only way that you're going to stay lean and fit is by exercising. So I'm going to go for a walk right now. Oh, I better pay for my groceries first.
From on top of the Contemporary Hotel, you can really get a great view of the Magic Kingdom and all of Walt Disney World. Walt Disney's dream. And Walt Disney's dream came true. You need to set goals and go for them. But if you're having a little trouble, Bert Dubin of the Personal Achievement Institute can help you. He's a philosopher, educator, and businessman, and he adds all 3 for a great lesson.
You are the picture of grace. You are poetry in motion.
daydreams, things about which we fantasize, and there are goals, things which we actually hope to achieve. The difference between daydreams and goals depends on several things, all of which start right here, within ourselves. Accomplishing goals begins with our frame of mind, how we feel about ourselves, and how realistic we are in setting up our goals in the first place. Well, you can set realistic goals for yourself, and you can actually set yourself up to achieve those goals. It's something you can learn, which is what we're about to discover as we join a group of very special people who are learning how to make their goals a reality.
Surrender to your purpose. Put all of you on the line, so to speak, to go after whatever it is that you want to bring into your life. That's how it's done. You don't get there with half-hearted, wishy-washy dreams of success. You get there by doing the things that have to be done. And later today,
according to Bert Dubin, surrendering to your purpose is a key element in reaching your goals. Dubin founded the Personal Achievement Institute in 1978 after 25 years as a marketing executive. Dubin's nonprofit organization is designed to help people learn how to help themselves.
And it won't be brought into the now. Take another deep breath through your nose. This time, hold it. And again, let it out slowly through your mouth.
Relaxation and visualization. They're two of the building blocks which enhance your sense of power. Imagine you're driving a car where the sheer force of your will controls the speed.
Now observe that dial. See this in your mind's eye. Observe that large dial in front of you. The dial that now reads from 0 to 500 with the needle pointed at 100. And notice that needle is starting to shiver a bit as more power is released to you.
Bert, what are some of the key elements that allow one to achieve?
It begins with believing in yourself, Tom, believing that you can do it, daring to dream that something is possible, and then being willing to do what has to be done to bring into being what started out just as a dream. It's important, Tom, that a person has a sense of value, that the person likes himself or herself, loves himself or herself above all, has a sense of autonomy, has a sense that they have a right to achieve, have a right to bring into being something out of the ordinary, something beyond the normal. Life is like a mirror. It reflects back to us what we put in front of it. And if we wish it to reflect back more success, it only takes changing what we put in front of it, and that additional success comes quite rapidly. You're looking at your very best friend. You're looking at the face of the one person upon whom you know you can rely. Human frailty being what it is, accidents being what they are, there's only one person in the world upon whom you know you can absolutely rely. Never, never to forget that your very best friend in all the world is truly you. Your heritage. Now that will be the time of your birth, the place of your birth, the particular gene and chromosome mix that made up you. Your aptitudes. Your
Visual tools are an important part of the training. They help the students see the concepts being taught. Here, Dubin uses a rocket to illustrate how the past stages of our lives may keep us from reaching our goals.
Now think of a rocket going to the moon or going to one of the planets, which the United States is already doing. You can imagine the enormous power there is in that nose cone. It took all of the power of that rocket for that nose cone to have the power that it's got, and you've got that much power too. And all you need to carry with you is the last stage of the rocket. All of this is behind you. You're now at the final stage.
Bill Davies is a graduate of the Personal Achievement Institute who fulfilled a lifelong goal when he formed his own orchestra. He attributes his success to the techniques he learned from Bert Dubin.
If you want a job, then you're going out, and in your mind, you basically program the meeting with your potential boss, the type of person he is, what you want from the job, what you want to give to the job, and you go right through from start to finish up to and including getting the job and working the job. And the more you can visualize and the more you can put that into actuality, then when the actual interview comes for the job, it's just like a stage play. You've been rehearsed for it, and you go through it, and you attain it. There's no stopping you.
what is the single most important thing you have to know to get ahead in life?
To remember, Tom, that you are the one who's in charge, that you're in charge, and that the only person who can stop you from achieving your objectives is the person whose teeth you brush every day, the person whose hair you comb every day, the person whose face you look at in the mirror every morning.
You may want to become a millionaire, or run off to the coast of Spain with someone you love to write that great novel. For most of us, though, reaching for that next star in the sky may mean nothing more than doing the best that we can as much of the time as possible. Achievement begins with an effort, and effort begins with a simple act, an act of faith in yourself, knowing, simply knowing, that if you set your mind to a goal and stick with it, you can make that goal a possible dream, a dream that comes true.
Well, we've reached the halfway point of our special weekend edition of Epcot magazine. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed some of the stories and gotten some useful information out of it. I hope you have too. Of course, we've got a lot more show coming up, so why don't I tell you what we have in the second half of this special weekend edition of Epcot magazine.
It takes great chefs to prepare the delicacies demanded by today's dining patrons. But first, it takes two enterprising young men to fly in the freshest foods from around the world. Then, the sports fantasy of a lifetime can come true. With a little help from Nat Albright in his audio magic, you can bat against Sandy Koufax, hit a few with John McEnroe, or go 15 rounds with Muhammad Ali. And Frank Berry has the real book of Disneyana for us all, the lowdown of the best buys. Mary Ellen Pinkham, diet expert, takes the madness out of marketing with her shopping plan for pros. Plus, Dana Hill and I will join you for another exciting look at the way America thinks about the issues of today. Today's Future Choice Theater looks into the problem of higher Social Security taxes and aid to the elderly. All on today's Epcot magazine.
Well, we're here in front of Les Chefs de France, and it's time for a French quiz. Now, what is this? This is a ramekin. Now, this is the little thing you put the escargot in when you're eating them. You know, the little snails and garlic butter. Butter's great. Now, what about this toy? Now, this toy holds the snail shell when you get that little guy out. Pretty interesting, huh? The gourmet foods are very popular. And how do we get them? Flying Foods International brings them to us. Here's Lori Kapp with our World Showcase story.
Hundreds of planes from all over the world touch down on the tarmac of New York's Kennedy Airport each day. Among the passenger-carrying planes are also aircraft whose holds are filled with cargo. Crates bearing the shipping labels of exotic ports like Paris, New Zealand, and Jerusalem. Gourmet foods fill one of those shipping containers. Items like Dover sole, radicchio, an Italian red lettuce, langoustine from deep in the North Sea, and many other ingredients in demand by chefs at restaurants with names like Bretesse, La Côte Basque, Four Seasons, and Regine's.
These are deep-sea lobster from Norway. They grow at the bottom of the ocean, really, really deep waters.
Very perishable.
One of the leaders in the gourmet food importing business is a company called Flying Foods International. Founded 2 years ago by these young men, Paul Moriarty and Walter Martin, the company imports 58 varieties of seafood and 90 varieties of produce and grosses over $60,000 a week. With branch offices in Boston, Philadelphia, Houston, and Los Angeles, it appears to be a raging success. But in the beginning, the business looked as if it would never get off the ground. They started out using Walter's apartment for a warehouse and his bathroom scale to weigh the produce. They pulled their life savings, $5,000, to import 2 tons of haricots verts, extra fine French beans. When the shipment arrived, the U.S. Department of Agriculture inspector found some bugs crawling on the beans. They wouldn't allow the shipment into the country.
We exported it back to Paris, and we didn't take it that well. I mean, we lost a lot of money on it. Just about everything that we worked for those first couple of weeks, we just lost. And we thought that, you know, that was it, that's why nobody else did it. But somehow, by the bootstraps, we grabbed ourselves and we made it through. And we started virtually all over again. was frightening, too, because we had never done it before. We didn't know if there were some sort of, reasons why we couldn't do it. Or, maybe this, like Paul said, maybe that's why people didn't do it. And we had paid for it in advance. We thought that we were broken. That was the end of it. So it was pretty scary.
But a little hard luck, like the loss of their life savings, was hardly enough to quench the Horatio Alger spirit in these two. They were determined to make it work.
I think that's sort of the American way, isn't it? To get out there and try your best at something and see whether or not you can succeed. It's easy to go to work for a corporation or a company and hang in there for 30, 40 years. But we sort of had romantic ideas of trying and applying what we learned in school and in life and see whether we could really cut the mustard out there. Beside that, how could we ever sell the idea to anybody? I would imagine telling them that we want to import fresh fish from Europe and get it here to the States, to the restaurants in Manhattan and all over the country for that matter, still in the quality enough to please a temperamental chef. And they would have said that's crazy, or maybe you could pull it off once or twice, but you could never do it, consistently and make a business out of it.
Right. They persevered. Both had been to hotel and restaurant school and had met while working in the restaurant at the Waldorf Astoria. They exploited contacts they'd made during that time with influential chefs, like Jean-Claude Codeville at Regine's.
They like having someone who will seek out items that they've yearned for years from their own home country. And they also like someone coming to them with new products for a change, coming to them with ideas, and coming to them with specialty items that they may never have seen before. And it's quite a reward to make a French chef excited about food when something that they've never seen or heard of before, and for them to try it and love it.
Jean-Claude is using flying food imports to prepare a house specialty at Regine's, l'andouillette de turbot au beurre de Port Rouge, or turbot in a crispy pastry shell with crayfish sauce. It starts with a large turbot from the North Sea. Expert knife work fillets the fish, which is similar to a flounder, but more tasty. The fillets are put through a food processor. Then salt, pepper, spinach, and diced salmon are added. The mixture is then wrapped in an egg roll shell. The roll is dropped into a deep fryer. Next, the chef cleans the salsify, a root imported from Belgium. Lightly sautéed in butter and garlic, it will provide an unusual and tasty side dish. For dessert, Jean-Claude is preparing a Callian melon from France.
I like the service because, first of all, they are bringing a fantastic quality, and they have a big variety of products also. And they are very, I would say, on dog products, week to weeks is always the same. The price is right, and this is why. And fortunately, a few years ago, we didn't have that kind of people who was bringing food from Europe, and now we are very fortunate to work with such products imported.
I never would have dreamed when we started that a year and a half later we would be here doing this. But we didn't do it thinking that we would fail. We were determined to succeed, and that's essential. We really didn't know what to expect, honestly, and it's gone beyond any expectation anyhow.
That looks beautiful. Strawberries, melon, blueberries. Voila, the finished dish. The andouillette are sliced and served with a langoustine or deep-sea lobster. The Callian melon is stuffed with strawberries and raspberry sauce and garnished with kiwi fruit and blueberries. That's wonderful. You know, it's a same-day service. Fresh fish from Holland and salsify from Belgium. When I taste all these wonderful dishes, it really makes me glad that Paul and Walter didn't let adversity get in the way. They have quite a ways to go before they get rich, but their work is already going a long way to enrich the lives of many of us.
You know, two of the most incredible gourmet food stores in the world are here in the United States. The DDL Food Show in New York and the DDL Food Show in Beverly Hills, California. They're owned by Dino De Laurentiis, the same guy who's the film producer. And it's magnificent treats prepared right there by magnificent chefs. And now Frank Berry has a great idea and the complete book of Disneyana.
Disneyana everywhere, and Frank Berry is in the midst of it with the very sought-after and costly book of Disneyana. He's got the lowdown on the best buys.
Well, I finally got my copy. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the definitive book on collecting Disneyana. It's absolutely magnificent. It's called Disneyana, Walt Disney Collectibles by Cecil Munsey, and this is the book that was published in 1974. It's out of print now, and people are always writing in asking us, where can we get a copy? Well, I checked. There are no plans right now for republishing it or reissuing it, so the only way you're going to get a copy is the way I did. I've been looking for 3 months. I found one in a library, in a reference library, and I had a good look, and I realized that it's the most useful of anything if you're into Disneyana. Another place is the antique shops and old bookshops. Well, I bought this one, and I found out that at the last toy show, that a copy of Disneyana went for $60. Well, in the bookshop, this one was $65, so I thought that's close enough. Now, when this was published in 1974, it was $20. So you can see in just over 10 years, it has trebled in price. In fact, the book on Disneyana has become Disneyana because people are now collecting the book. If they reissue it, the value of it, of course, is going to go down, but never as a reference tool. This book has got everything that you want to know, starting right from the beginning. It's got all the collectibles, all the books, the soaps, and everything, and it's so much fun going through the book and seeing things that you might have had since you were a kid, or perhaps that you bought in an antique shop or a second-hand shop. Let's show you an example. Right here, in the middle of the book, when they're discussing all the recordings that Disney put out, what did I find? This over here, the Three Caballeros, which was issued in 1944-45, and that introduced the character Joe Carioca. And right in the book, there's the exact album. Now, it doesn't always have to cost you a fortune to collect. I've told that. I found this only 3 weeks ago, and it was $3, and all the records are absolutely intact. It's almost in mint condition. Now, some of the items, as you know, cost hundreds of dollars, but why not specialize in just one type of Disneyana? Now, I thought one of the things that would be kind of fun to collect are the banks. This one was made in 1968, and that would drop out a little piece of gum. This one was made just recently, but it's so well made, and if you keep it in good condition, it'll probably be a collectible of the future. You press the button, and the money goes in. So if you're careful what you buy, Disneyana's as good as money in the bank.
Dana Hill and I are here in the World Showcase, and it's time for another Future Choice Theater. We're going to the Epcot poll.
It's kind of like an electronic, what's on your mind?
That's a good way of putting it. I've never looked at it that way. Yep. We can find out instantly what all the people who've come to the Future Choice Theater are thinking. And we've got a good question for today.
Yes, it's about Social Security, which is a growing problem in our country, especially because the baby boom generation is getting so much older now.
Talking about us. Anyway, the question is, we all pay about roughly 7% in Social Security taxes. How much should we increase it or decrease it to take care of our elderly in the future? Why don't we get a little background right now on this subject?
In today's society, our senior citizens are living better than ever. We have improved the health and comfort of all of our people, the elderly especially. And Social Security has helped to construct this better lifestyle. Since Social Security is indexed to inflation, payments have kept up with the rising costs of living. An increased commitment to Social Security is simply facing up to the responsibilities that we owe to future generations.
Without increasing our taxes and with the proposed huge increase in Social Security payments, the future of the system is headed for almost certain bankruptcy. Added to this is the belief that the promise of excessively large Social Security payments would rob today's citizens of the need to face their own financial responsibility. The government is here to help, but each of us must do our own part.
We have an interesting split of opinion on this question. 36% of the people felt that we should either have an increase in Social Security taxes or a higher tax rate overall.
While an almost equal number of people, 38%, felt that no more taxes were needed, and another 8% wanted to reduce the taxes going for Social Security.
Dana, did the results surprise you?
A little bit. I thought a lot more people would be opposed to an increase in Social Security, but that wasn't the case.
Why don't we walk around Epcot Center and see what the guests here have to say? Come on.
I think that some regulations should be made whereby percentages of taxations are allocated to those who would presumably use them in the future. I think if you spread it across the boards, taking into consideration attorneys like myself, who generally are in a position to take care of their future through pension plans and so forth, which are self-instituted and self-executing, that perhaps we should pay a lower rate.
Well, I think it could be increased because the elderly do need more money, and we do need to take care of our elderly, but there has to be a ceiling put on it somewhere because eventually the workers just won't be making enough money anymore to pay for all the elderly there are.
You must be kidding. I resent the fact that my husband is paying Social Security for 50 years, and now he's going to pay income tax on that again. And you're asking me if it should be raised?
So
I'd like to see him get what he's supposed to be getting in the first place.
I wish I had the option as to whether or not I put any money into Social Security, because I think I can probably invest my money as well as or better than the government to have a better say over what my financial situation is going to be when I'm an elder person.
Well, I'm a recipient of Social Security, so I hope it continues. I do feel that there has to be a different system for managing it rather than taxing the younger people to support the older.
Well, Dana, what do you think?
I don't know, it's a tough problem. You know, the elderly have paid into Social Security for so many years, and they deserve to get that money out of it, but the system's going to go bankrupt if it continues at the rate.
Yeah, I think this system is just a victim of our changing society. I don't think we ever realized that we'd have this many older people around at this point, which is, of course, a national asset.
Yes, that's true.
We've got to take care of them. Well, Mary Ellen Pinkham has some great ideas coming up next.
If going to the supermarket makes you feel like you're trapped inside of a Pac-Man game, let diet expert Mary Ellen Pinkham show you how the shopping game is played by the pros.
Hi, gang. It's Mary Ellen again. You know, I'm the helpful hint lady, and last year I lost 73 pounds, and I'm here today in Jurgensen's supermarket in Beverly Hills, California, to share with you some of the tricks that helped me lose that weight. Now, when you walk into a supermarket, you got to be real suspicious. There's a lot of things going on around here that I got to share with you. Now, first of all is come prepared and shop with the list. And don't buy a single thing that's not on it. The most dangerous kind of shopping in a supermarket is impulse shopping. At least when you're out, you know, shopping for clothes, you can bring the clothes back. Have you ever tried to return a side of beef when half of it is gone and cooked? I'm telling you, it's nearly impossible. So shop with the list. Another thing that I think that's really important is always to shop the edges, because that's where the things are that are good for you, like the vegetables, the fruits, the meat department, the dairy department's in the back, and off to the right side is the bakery department. Bakery department's great because that's where the bread is. Once you get into the aisles, you're in trouble, folks, because that's where a lot of the junk is. And the junk is what gets you in trouble. Now, if you have to buy your cleaning supplies, you know, maybe take a thin friend with you and have her go down the aisle and pick it out for you. Now, you remember when I said be suspicious? Well, be suspicious of food where it shouldn't be. You know, all of a sudden you're strolling along and you're looking for the Diet Pop, and right next to the Diet Pop is the Fritos and the cheese spread, you name it. Well, it's there for a reason. They want you to buy it. It's like you're looking for the strawberries, and all of a sudden it's got pie shells next to it and whipping cream. You know, come to think of it, I've never seen liver and onions paired up in a supermarket, have you? And here's one last hint for you. I love it. You can use it at home. Supermarkets use it to get you to buy more at the bakery department. It's called faking baking. What you do is you take a little pie tin, like a chicken pot pie tin, you sprinkle cinnamon in it, and you burn it slowly over the stove. What happens, you get aromas of fresh baked cinnamon rolls. They're delicious, but don't buy them because you don't need them, and that's what gets you fat. Well, look, I got to get going because I want to go out for a walk because that's what really keeps you lean and fit.
And Sports Goofy, he goes back for one more shot. He swings, and he's made it. He's won the game. Hey, that's my idea of a fantasy, being able to play tennis with Sport Goofy. I might have a chance against you, Goofy. Then again, maybe not. I don't play so well, but Nat Albright can make all of your fantasies come true. You want to play against John McEnroe? Or you want to bat against Sandy Koufax? Well, in our imagination story, Tom Miller is up against the Padres.
It may be the ultimate sports fantasy, and it can come true for you. Have you ever dreamed of being up at bat in the major leagues? Well, that dream is a lot more common than you think. More than 85 million of us watched the World Series on television last year. How many of us didn't dream about being out there where the action was with the pros? You just sit back, close your eyes, and let the sound of the game take you out to center field. Well, keep your eyes and your ears open, because we're taking you to Arlington, Virginia, where a man named Nat Albright can put you in the game and put you right up there with the sports greats.
Fernando wipes his pitching hand.
How does Albright do it? Illusion. Using audio cassettes, he recreates the broadcast of a sporting event. It sounds real, and all the players are real, with one exception, you. Say you want to go to bat against the legendary Whitey Ford, or climb in the ring with Muhammad Ali. Just provide Albright with the name of the athlete and the particular sporting event. He does the rest. Let's listen as Albright puts me into the San Diego Padres lineup at Candlestick Park in a game that was actually played on September 19th, 1983. I replaced batter Kevin McReynolds. The pictures are courtesy of Epcot magazine. The sound is by Nat Albright.
Tom Miller steps in the batter's box, a right-handed batter. San Francisco in the one. Pitch inside for a ball. Scott on the hill, wears glasses, is down for the side. Ground ball, right side, Youngblood over, got it. Goes to first base to Smith. No, base hit. Beating it out is Tom Miller, ground ball to the right side. I don't think that Youngblood figured that Miller had that much speed.
Sound like fun? That's because it is.
This thing in a hurry. He beat him for the base hit.
A lot of people have fun with him. You know, you find a guy going down the court playing basketball with Moses Malone and Dr. J. And here's the guy, I don't see him. A guy says, we heard that tape, and we were rolling on the floor. Well, here's a guy who has no hair, 5'6", 130 pounds, and they can see him coming down, dribbling across the timeline, feeding off to Moses Malone, or going in for a layup, see?
I was thrilled by it because...
This is Ted Mooney, one of Albright's first customers.
Knew the stadium, and it just was like being there, you know, like you actually had done it, and the situation he put me in, I think, was one that made me a hero, and even my own family believed that when they knew I didn't play for the Red Sox, they thought I was holding it back on them all these years.
Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles.
The tools Albright uses to spin these fantasies are some tape machines for sound effects, an encyclopedic knowledge of sports, and his own experience as a professional broadcaster. Albright came to national attention in 1980 when he broadcast an all-star game that was never played due to the baseball strike. It was all this experience that gave Albright the ability to visualize a sports event that he couldn't see.
I can see that field. I can see that guy winding up. I can see that pitch coming to home plate, and I can see that ball traveling. And that's how you can do it, is when you see that guy crack that ball up the line, and it goes over the third baseman's head down the line, rolling to the corner for a double. When you see that guy rounding first, heading for second, the throw coming in, and him sliding, when you see the dust fly, you know you got it.
Check of the runner. And there's a high
Albright's fantasy tapes get all kinds of reaction, perhaps none more touching than the gift a son made to his father.
Tom Miller back at the plate for the Padres.
This man called me from New York, and he said, Nat, I'm calling you just to tell you that you brought my father back to life. That man has been laying in that hospital bed, and when I put that tape on, and when he came out of Yankee Stadium dugout alongside Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Tony Lazzari, the man sat up in bed for the first time in 6 months.
Sometimes history just doesn't work out the way we want it to, and our favorite team can lose an important game. But Nat Albright wouldn't change history just to make someone happy, would he?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I'll change it. Oh, yeah, if they want. I had a guy in... The Redskins won the Super Bowl last year, but I had a guy in Miami who was very upset about it. So he said, put me in for Miami Dolphins at quarterback. Take Woodley out. I've got to be in the ball game and have us win. So I had to set the Dolphins for him to win. And he feels better about the whole situation.
How do you feel about doing that?
Well, that's fine with me. I mean, if that makes him happy, that's what we're here for, is to make other people happy. As long as we can make them happy and they enjoy it, then that's wonderful.
Perez ready, comes in with it. There's a long fly ball hit by Tom Miller, back deep and left. Going way back is Butler in left. It is going, it's gone. A home run for Tom Miller. And the Dodgers win it 1-0.
Now, what's your sports fantasy? I know you're a big sports enthusiast. What would you like to hear that crowd roaring to?
Oh, I'd love to hear them roaring to me winning in a gold medal and say ice skating.
Really?
Well, gymnastics maybe, track and field, skiing, bobsledding.
Definite sports fantasy here. Come on. No, I mean, well, maybe you can go win them all, okay?
I'd love to.
Bring home the gold. My fantasy would be to eat lots of gourmet food. That was a neat story. That one did me in.
Yeah, did my palate in, too.
We're looking forward to having you again. You were a lot of fun this week.
Thank you. I had a wonderful time.
Yeah. We look forward to seeing you on the special weekend edition, so join us. Bye-bye, everybody.